Thank you all for joining me on screen. I'm undoubtedly very lucky to have organised getting this many industry experts online at the same time. In line with the theme of our webinar today, I wanted to ask you some questions around technology opportunities, tools and tips for broker partners, as well as what may be in store for us for 2024. So to start, Claire, let me come to you first. L&G have obviously been focusing on technology for some time. So to set the scene for our session today, how has technology currently been used to support the mortgage journey for both brokers and customers alike?
Okay, so lovely to be here, Eloise, and thanks ever so much for the invite. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We have done a lot of work recently around technology for the mortgage market, but so has for a lot of other providers. So what do I think about how is it being used? I think it's used at all parts of the journey, or it should be. I think before we go through that, what does it give? And for me, it's never going to replace advice. It should be there to absolutely drive efficiencies. So cases are more accurate. Brokers can give customers a decision straight away, a more accurate decision. They've got one version of the truth. There's lots of MI and data that, if technology is used well, that could be there to support from a consumer duty perspective or from a business perspective. But I think if done well, and tech, every business is different. But I think if you know what you want and you want to achieve, I think tech can really add value at all stages of the journey. So at the beginning on your website, how can tech be used for lead generation and assessing those leads more automatically when they do come in? How can research tools be used, again, as I talked about at the beginning, to really drive efficiency? So we know that there's some great tools on the market for criteria and for affordability, from sourcing. So getting advice right the first time, and then naturally once that application hopefully has been applied for, integrated via API, there's CRMs, isn't there, to really help manage those customer relationships for as long as that client's got a mortgage and hopefully onwards.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Claire. Lots of great things already in the market that brokers can utilise and harness for the power of technology, definitely. Vikki, coming to you next. We've heard already from Claire about what technology is being used for today, but how do you think that might change in the future for the broker market, and what opportunities do brokers have in that space?
Yeah, I mean, just to pick up on Claire, one of Claire's points, technology is not going to replace our advisors, and more so than we've seen in the last 12 months than ever, that human element and having that ability to really be able to understand your customers, that there isn't a replaceable solution out there on the market. So I think when we think about technology, the best way to think about it in your business is how it can make you to be more efficient. So we talk about rather than, it's like being the best, most efficient version of yourself. So think about it in that. It's another tool, it's something else to add to your business. And not only will that save you sort of the efficiencies, but that will allow you more time to do more cases, to see more customers. So it's about really sort of making that investment to actually improve your long-term capability and growth in the business. I think that's really important. I think, in current times as well, obviously, running businesses at the moment is incredibly challenging. Cost of living hits everybody, whether you're a business owner or in your personal life. So it can be quite it can be quite an investment, and something that people do have to think really cautiously about. But that breeding that efficiency into your business ultimately will pay off in the long term. I think the customer contact element is really important. Our customers will be contacted by lots of different people, lots of different financial institutions. There'll be lots of other people trying to get hold of your customers. So having a really strong customer contact strategy through the technology is a huge opportunity, and something that's not just an opportunity. I see it as a necessity in people's business. So that's really important. And then, just the real basics of tech that sometimes sometimes we forget, you know, it does make you look more professional, it does make you more compliant, it does build a, you know, a better experience for customers, particularly younger customers that are more used to that sort of experience. So lots of opportunities, and almost for me it's like a bit of a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you be investing in technology and really utilizing that, you know, for next year and beyond?
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. Nicola, I understand that you actually already use technology and even perhaps AI within your business. How have you seen this benefit your business, and what successes have you seen with that?
Greatly. So we've invested quite heavily in technology, predominantly over the last 2 to 3 years, I'd say. And I think I just want to touch on what Claire and Vikki, you've both said there. You know, the way we see it is it's there to complement humans, not to replace it. And I think sometimes people get that a little bit twisted, and you know, the way that we embrace it is by making it very much complementary to what we already do. I mean, looking at the last 2 to 3 years in terms of the administration across our business, we've been able to reduce it by 70%, and that's through a combination of integrating AI with API integrations. Now, what that means, or what that doesn't mean, is that we've laid anyone off, far from that. But what it does mean is that administrators have got 70% more time to provide a better quality service to supporting advisors. And what that also means is, for advisors, it means that they can spend the time giving that quality advice to the customer and being able to engage more, being able to reach out to more customers, and in turn that's obviously increased the quality of the service, but also revenue as well. So yeah, I definitely think that AI in particular has been a massive improvement in terms of the tech embracing that we've done. And I will also say as well that with AI, I think that people can be skeptical about AI, and you know, yes, there are ethical concerns. I don't want to get into that today, but for sure, you know, there are question marks in that respect. But I think sometimes because of the skepticism around it, people don't always get the full benefit from it. So, you know, how we've been able to embrace AI in our business is we do have, we've built our own CRM system, and AI is only as good, or tech is only as good as the information that's fed into, if we're talking about AI specifically. So we've got a database, and that our database allows us to capture lots and lots of different data points. So for every client, we're collecting maybe 1,000 different points of information. What that enables us to do is efficiently organise that data, and that's what allows us to analyse it using AI and look at trends, look at sales opportunities, and that's what allows us to utilise it in the best possible way. So I think sometimes people don't get the full benefit of AI because perhaps they're not feeding it always the right information. You know, so now as a business, all of our outgoing communication is produced either by a combination of AI or rules-based logic. So essentially taking a set of data, applying a set of rules to it, and then producing a will or a demands and needs letter or whatever that might be. And like I say, that's not just improved the time we're spending, but also the quality of the correspondence that's going out. But just going back to Claire and Vikki's point, there's always that human there to check that information. Obviously, we're not just going to send automated documents without someone thoroughly checking it. So yeah, it's about really just using it to complement. And as well, day to day, we're using it for things like social media posts, job adverts. It even helped me last week put together a really comprehensive recruitment process that would have ordinarily took me probably 3 days, but it took me maybe 6 hours with the help of AI. So it's honestly, it's made a massive difference to our business in many different ways.
Wonderful, thank you. It's really great to see a real life example of how that's been benefiting your business. So really appreciate that insight. Thank you, Nicola. Chris, so the reforms of AI and technologies within your market expertise of social media, and we've seen social media channels change quite a lot over the last few years. So where do you think that may go? What's the most popular platform, and will it remain that way?
It's really interesting, is it? Because AI has had some integration into social media, and the likes of the video platforms, TikTok, etc., have all exploded. So the thing I'm going to do here is kind of split down the technology and the tools, and then talk about AI. So the first thing is tools in social media. Exactly what Nicola and Vikki have spoken about there is to be more efficient. So these tools enable you to schedule posts, saves you time. You don't have to sit there doing them manually. Then we've obviously got the biggie of ChatGPT. That's the big thing everybody's talking about at the moment, which is an AI tool. So like Nicola said, it can help you write social media posts, write blogs, help you come up with ideas. But social media is all about being yourself. And that's where social media has really exploded. If we look at the likes of TikTok, for example, the channels that have exploded aren't the likes of AI generated content. It's people putting themselves out there. Those are the viral videos that are reaching hundreds, thousands, if not millions. And I know some mortgage brokers that have done that, have sold their faces and their brand rather than just another generic piece of content. So talking about TikTok, the algorithms, Instagram as well, the algorithm is the key thing that everybody tries to learn, okay? And nobody knows what the algorithm is. But what the algorithm can do is make sure that more people are seeing more relevant content. So and that's why TikTok can go viral, because they're putting it out in front of more relevant audiences. But the great thing about the algorithm, because they're pushing more content out to more people, they're finding out more information about the audience. And now what we're starting to see is these companies are giving us that information back. So perfect example with Meta Business Suite, who own Facebook and Instagram. What they've got now in their platform is the ability to see when your audience is most active. So you can see that your audience might be most active between 6 and 9 p.m. So if you schedule your post for that time, you're much more likely to reach more people during that time zone. So this is where these channels are going to get bigger and bigger by using AI, not in a way to push more content out, but they're actually giving more information back to us as the owners of these business accounts. And what I think will happen, they'll become even more detailed. So not only will it work out when your audience is most active, I think they'll start to say, well, they prefer social media posts with your face on it, or when you wear a green jumper, or where you wear a hat, or that. I think it will really go into those really niche areas that, you know, to get the best piece of content out there, you need to be talking about this topic, upload it at this time, and you need to be in this setting. But just to echo what's been said before, is AI can't replace a human, especially when it comes to social media. It can do these deep fake videos that I've spoken about before, where it almost tries to imitate who you are. But I think social media channels will become a lot more savvy to this and realize when a piece of content is fake and when it's actually a genuine person. So that's what I think is going to happen over social over the next few years.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Chris. It sounds like the message from a lot of you as well is all around humans aren't going to be taken over by the AI robots and technology, which is a relief to hear, definitely. And it sounds like there's some real great benefits about them getting that information and data for us to harness and utilize and really stay on top of our opportunities within the business. That's very exciting. I suppose in current times, staying close to your customer has really never been more important in our current market environment. Claire, coming back to you, what tools or strategies are there out there today to help businesses retain and support more of their client base?
I think that follows on lovely from what we've just been talking about for the first 10 minutes. It's ultimately, I think, people and the great relationships that human beings form together, and delivering what people say that they'll deliver, and all of that really, really great service and that really good stuff. But underpin that with technology. So how could a CRM system that's used really well, so the information is in there, is correct, how can a CRM system help with a strategy of keeping in touch with a customer that has got a 5-year fixed rate? So rather than 2 months before the end of the ERC, contacting that customer, how could a CRM really do the job of the admin task, I suppose, of that advisor, and generate lists, or generate contact to those customers directly? Just keeping front of mind. There's obviously, isn't there, there's the $1 million question, who owns the customer? And I think it's within the gift of either the lender or the broker to decide who owns that customer. And I think technology, using technology really well, can support that. I think it's a tough time for everyone, and I think next year will be tough too. So for me, it's how does technology really help customers have contact with advisors, get the information that they need. So there's good information held on websites, easily accessible, and really using that information that's out there with humans to give that information, but naturally to get there through technology.
Well, that's fabulous, Claire. Thank you very much for that. I completely agree. Vikki, Claire definitely touched on this. There's been a lot of hurdles in our industry, to say the least of it, lately. What do you think are the most significant challenges that mortgage advisors have faced in their day-to-day operations, and what tools or strategies could they be utilising to help mitigate some of these challenges?
I mean, I think probably the biggest challenge, and what's maybe been a little bit underestimated, is that we are in the business of people, right? And at the moment, we've got a customer group that is incredibly emotive, under significant financial strain. We've got media that just feeds this frenzy constantly. I mean, we were only talking about it yesterday, but you know, if you'd asked me 18 months ago what end customer knows the inflation rate, the interest rate, most people never even use those terms, and now it's like a constant, what is it that's going to affect? So you're in this heightened and emotive market where we're giving very complex financial advice. We're often now giving really difficult and bad news to people that are coming off the end of fixed rates. And I think, you know, that's not to be underestimated, that does take more time, more stress and strain. It makes the hard job even harder. So I think one of the things that I think is most important is to look after ourselves and look after each other, to make sure that we can still keep looking after these customers, because this is now going to be a prolonged period. It's not going to be a Liz Truss flash in the pan situation. We're now 12 months on, and it, you know, can't see it changing anytime soon. So I think we must take care of ourselves and take care of those soft skills to make sure that we can all give our best advice to our customers at all times. A thing that I always say all the time, and you'll probably love me for saying this, Eloise, is that I say, you know, pricing and products are still changing all of the time. So make sure you're staying close to your lenders. Let the BDMs through the door, have the conversations, make sure you're going on events, make sure that your knowledge is as constant as and up to date as it can be, because you've got some brilliant sourcing tools, brilliant criteria tools. All of those are important, but ultimately you need to make sure that your base knowledge is there. And I know that sounds really daft, but sometimes when we're busy and we're running around after clients, we can forget to make some time to ensure that we've got that good product knowledge. And then the final part for me is that look around your local community. So look in your mortgage and protection network or your club, look around your local businesses, make sure you connect and network with people, because so many people have got so many great ideas. You don't know what conversation can be sparked from having you know, just a coffee machine chat with somebody, or you know, a community networking event, for example, because the other thing that I think now is that a lot of local businesses and like-minded businesses want to help each other. The high street wants to support the high street. So make sure that you are in your local business community and not just in your mortgage and protection community, because there's lots and lots of opportunities out there. And hey, do you know what? Other businesses are having challenges as well. So again, going back to my first point about looking after ourselves and looking after our mental health and looking after our customers, you can benefit by having a really strong networking community around you.
Fabulous tips there, Vikki. Thank you. And absolutely, I do love you for saying that, definitely. So thank you. I completely agree. I suppose looking outside of technology now, Nicola, in your experience, what strategies or processes are fundamental to a successful brokerage like yours, especially when looking to the year ahead?
Yeah, most definitely. I think, again, just expanding on what you said there, Vikki, for us, in my experience, it's all about putting the customer first. That customer has got to be at the centre of everything that, well, for us as a business, everything we do. And I think that we shouldn't lose sight of that. Now, how you put the customer first, for us, embracing tech, I know you said outside of tech, but that is a large part of how we get to that goal of putting the customer first. But however you go about it, that's got to be key and central to what we do in the industry that we're in, I think. I mean, in terms of, you know, making sure that the customer is first, a lot of that is centered around our processes. So again, you know, our processes are very detailed. you know, again, I'm bringing it back to tech, but even things like sending clients fact finds before the meeting, you know, all of these things mean that the customer then has, again, a better quality appointment, because we can spend more time getting to the important parts of that customer journey and giving them what we do best, which is the advice. And I also think as well, in terms of, I mean, I know that obviously the market is quieter than what everyone would like, but now is an opportune time to explore making sure that processes are slick, so that when we do get busier, we've got all of these things in place to really go for it. I think as well, going back to outside of tech, if we're looking at larger firms, in our experience, it's all been about hiring the right people. The people in our business is what makes our business, you know. And I also think that when you're looking at people, or looking at our people within our business, it's, yes, obviously about the capability of the people and the service that they provide, but it's as much for us about culture, values, and our visions aligning with our team. That is equally important, and I'd say that's probably a lesson I've learned more so over the last few years, actually, because I mentioned that we recently revised our recruitment process, because we have had situations, probably more recently, where we've took people on, you know, their CV on paper, they tick all the right boxes, but it's just that vision, values just don't seem to marry up. So I think that that's something that we've put more of a focus on in recent years, to just make sure that we've got the right people in the team. So part of our recruitment process, we're including more situational questions. You know, if your values, you start a new job and your values don't align with the company, you know, how do you handle that? We want to know how they handle those kinds of situations. And again, in terms of the capability of advisors, we've started doing things like, you know, getting advisors or potential advisors to match sequences to make sure that their accuracy is 10 out of 10, because again, we don't want people putting an extra 0 on the loan amounts. These things might sound basic, but we've just really made sure that our recruitment process is really thorough, so that we know we're not wasting time, and that we know that everyone's on the same page. We're all trying to reach a common goal. So that's probably what I'd say to larger firms in my experience.
No, that's brilliant. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, Nicola. I think in the quieter period of the market, we have had a shift in focus more towards PT and retention and remortgages, and that's allowed brokerages to focus on some of their different processes and how they set things up. And absolutely, some of the things you mentioned there, if we get this absolutely perfect going into 2024, when the business comes back, and it will, we'll be able to see that just growing and growing. So that's really great insight. Thank you. Okay, so Chris, speaking of successful brokerages, what does success look like, and how do we measure that in social media?
So there's loads of different ways that you can measure success in social media, and I'll touch on 2 different things here, because the first one is to use tools that are built within your social media platforms. Like, for example, if you navigate to the Meta Business Suite, what you'll be able to do is see on the insight section, you can see a list of all the posts that you've posted, and you can see the engagement levels. You can see how many people it's reached, how many people have liked, commented and shared on those posts. And what you can do is pick out the posts that have worked really well. So for example, a really good one at the minute is, when will mortgage rates go down? It's a big question that everybody's asking at the moment, and asking you guys when you're on the phone watching this. So that would be a post that would work really well. Now, pick out the posts that have worked really well and go and reuse them, go and repost them in 6 weeks time, because what we forget about on social media, even though we see a post has reached 1,000 people, how many of those 1,000 people have actually taken that information in? Probably only about 50%. So make sure you reuse that successful content. Then for other channels, you can use something called Buffer. So this is all about tools that you can use. So Buffer is a scheduling tool, but the paid version allows you to see analytics of your LinkedIn channel, your Google My Business channel, your Instagram, your Facebook, your TikTok, whatever it might be. It can show you the engagement rates. Exactly the same thing. Again, go and have a look at those. Now, there's a lot of figures that are out there at the moment where you can say that the norm is you want to grow your social media audience by 30%. If an agency tells you that they can do X, Y, or Z and definitely promote it, definitely get you these figures, nobody knows that. So although we're talking about figures, it's very hard to quantify exactly what good looks like. The way that I always measure this is When you start on social media, when you start putting those posts out there and you're consistent with it, and when I say consistent, 3 times or more every single week, the biggest compliment you can get, or the biggest way that you can see that it's working, is you'll start to have family members message you saying, I see you everywhere. Now, that might not be analytical and it might not be data led, but what you've got to think is if your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad is texting you that, you know that the audience is doing exactly the same. They're seeing your face everywhere. And that content doesn't have to necessarily be about the mortgage world. So for example, we did a video of a day in the life of on TikTok, and somebody reached out because they liked the way that I'd put the video together. They weren't bothered about the content, just they saw us over and over again. So the way I like to talk about it is the billboard analogy. So if you think of your social media audience as a little town, and you think in this town you've got all your billboards are your social media posts, okay? When these people are walking around doing their daily duties, they might go past one of your billboards with your social media post. It's very unlikely that that person will take a selfie with it and go and share it with their friends, or they might turn to their friend and say, oh, do you like that? Do you sort of, that's an engagement on your social media post. That rarely happens. It doesn't mean that that person walking past that billboard did not see your social media post. So although analytics and engagement rates and everything is fantastic, yes, please don't base your whole marketing strategy around it, because you don't know if 100 people see a post, it could be a lot better than 1,000 people seeing it and not ever taking any action on it. So analytics are great. A lot of social media platforms have them built in, but don't rely on it. Just be yourself, get content out there and be consistent with it. That would be my top tip.
What a great analogy. I love that. That's fabulous. Thank you, Chris. So I suppose the last kind of theme of our webinar today is around 2024 and what next. So I'll ask you all to get your crystal balls out now, I suppose. But brokers are, of course, preparing for the year ahead and what 2024 may bring. So Claire, coming back to you, what do you think the market will hold next year, and how can brokers best be preparing for this?
Thank you, Eloise. I think next year becomes a new normal. I think we're entering a new normal, and I think that's something that everybody in the industry needs to get used to, and consumers get used to as well. It feels like there's times at the moment where people are waiting for rates to go below 1% again for a 5-year fixed rate, waiting for property prices to crash, to sweep up with some really low deals, and I don't believe that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a new normal where we all need to accept that rates are probably going to start at a 4 or a 5. Affordability is still going to be tough, but it's getting more affordable, hopefully because of some of the changes that maybe government can make as they've started just on Wednesday around national insurance levels, etc. And I think when we see some stability in the market, so we're not seeing rates up and down, we're not seeing swap rates as sporadic as they have been, I think that will drive customer confidence, and people will always need to move home. Let's forget that. Just because rates now begin with a 4 or a 5 doesn't mean that they're not going to move home. Yeah, I think a lot of people have put that on hold this year, waiting to see, waiting. So we could have quite a lot of pent-up demand come the second half of the year next year, and have a really positive purchase market again. But don't forget that the last few years have been extraordinary, and are we going back to a more ordinary, touch wood, and more normal market? We're not crashing. We're absolutely not crashing, and property prices aren't crashing. I think it's going to be very much the year of product transfers again, and again remortgages. Is the 1.6 million households coming to the end of fixed rates next year? So again, there's lots of opportunity there. And again, as I've talked about, as affordability improves, rates settle down, does that open up the opportunity for remortgages again? But I know we've talked about this before as we answered the other question. I don't believe that there's going to be any low-hanging fruit, or not as much low-hanging fruit. I think brokers and advisors need to look about where's the opportunity. Retrain, is later life an opportunity? Is commercial an opportunity? Is more adverse an opportunity? and really think about working in, I always say this the wrong way around, working on your business rather than in your business. That is the opportunity. I really believe that, to study more areas, meet new people and grow your business. But I think it'll be tougher, but not anything. It's just different, a new normal, definitely a new normal.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Claire. Really appreciate that. Vikki, I suppose coming to you next as well, what are your thoughts on what may be happening next year, and any top tips for considering customer retention for the year ahead for any brokers listening today?
I do think Q1 is going to be tough. I think it is going to be tough. That's a reality. We know now what's in the pipeline, and I think Q1 is going to be hard. But I do definitely think that from Q2 onwards, we can expect to see a bit of a resurge in the market. I completely agree about the pent-up demand that Claire's talking about. And I think people's hands will just be forced as we get into this new norm. Obviously, as Claire said, the maturities is a huge opportunity. So I was just looking at some of the CACI data, and there's again 3 peaks next year. So you've got a huge peak in April, July and October. So obviously what you should all be doing at the moment is having a look and seeing, you know, are your peaks in line with what's in the market? How many of your April ones have you already secured? You need to be secured 100%, and that becomes like your base income on your product transfers and securing that. And then, you know, there might be other customers whose brokers aren't as savvy, and maybe you could start doing their product transfers to them as well. So don't just think about your own book, you know, use your social media. I'm sure Chris will be able to, you know, do some posts on that, but, you know, about inviting new clients in to help them with their product transfers or remortgage, etc. So that's really important. I think when it comes to sort of thinking about, you know, working on your business, not in your business, Claire, I think that's really good and important. I think it's about thinking about the market and forecasting and really doing really strong business plans and forecasts for the year ahead, and not just sitting around and seeing what's waiting to happen, thinking, right, well, Q1's not going to be great, so I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but then I can forecast up, I can upskill my business, I can clean up my processes, I can get a real social media strategy in place, but really think about it over a 12-month period, because I think sometimes in our industry we have this symptom where we become really reactive, don't we? Oh no, interest rates, oh no, the economy, and we just react. Whereas if we can be more proactive, have a really solid business plan, understand what we think our income's going to be for the 12 months ahead, that will then naturally force you into the new opportunities that Claire's talking about, and present that so that you can grow even more next year. I mean, we probably should just mention the political bit, because obviously, depending on when the election is, that will be our next big panic in our industry. But I actually think the political landscape is really exciting, because whatever happens government wise, they are going to have to do something for the housing industry. Absolutely, you know, it's going to happen. So we are going to have really positive news in that area. Now, whether that's spring, summer, or whether he's going to hold out till the end of the year, we just don't know, do we? But it will be coming, and that's why getting yourself poised and ready for your business is absolutely crucial.
Fabulous. Thank you, Vikki. So some challenges, but lots of opportunity and potential ahead as well.
Yeah.
Nicola, coming to you next, what would be your #1 suggestion for fellow brokers listening today? And what are you looking for from lenders in 2024 as well? I'll get my notebook out.
Yeah, I think, well, again, just expanding on what you said there, Vikki, in terms of now is just a very good time to make sure that the foundations are there, processes are right. And again, if we're taking it, you know, looking at it from a tech perspective, because sometimes I think the word tech, not everyone is into tech, so to speak. The word tech can be off-putting for some people in itself, but I think sometimes it's important to just acknowledge that even just some basic tech implementations in a business can turn it around. So, you know, for us as a business, for example, yes, okay, we've built a CRM system, etc., but actually one of the biggest differences that our business has seen is by introducing something as simple as video calls, which we did obviously as a reaction to COVID 3 years ago, but that has made a huge difference to our business in terms of how many people we can in a day, and obviously in turn our revenue. So I think the point I'm trying to make, and that also, sorry, has meant that we can see people nationally now, whereas before we were only a local business. So I think the point being is that sometimes just the smallest implementation and change doesn't have to be really techy or really complex. Some of the smallest or simplest changes can make a huge difference to efficiency and profitability for a business as well. So I think in summary, the advice I suppose I'd give is that making basic changes can make a huge difference, and start with that before trying to make complex ones, I think is key. In terms of lenders, I think it's important to improve systems. It's great to see that Barclays are listening to brokers. You know, they've come out with a new system. It's great. It wasn't great before. So I think more from, again, I won't name other lenders that maybe could take a few tips in that respect. But I think improvements to systems, you know, we are in 2023. So I think realistically, systems should reflect 2023 in terms of, again, making sure that when brokers are submitting business, we can do that in a really quick and efficient way. I also think, again, you know, more API integrations from certain businesses and certain lenders as well would be great. I think certainly, yes, mortgage market is better at that compared to protection, but I still think that there is some way to go. So that's what I would like to see anyway.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you, Nicola. And absolutely, I think speaking for Kensington, we're 100% intermediary only lender. So making sure we're supporting our brokers, making their lives as easy as we possibly can with quick and swift assistance is really important to us. So thank you so much for that.
I will add as well, Kensington do have a very good system, I think.
Fabulous. Thank you for saying. I'll give you the last word for the day because we are quickly running out of time. But I wanted to ask you, what should be at the top of brokers' minds moving into the next year ahead, and what would be your top tips for growing businesses with social media?
Okay, over the Christmas period, everyone needs to practice their dancing for TikTok. No, I'm only joking. Don't worry. TikTok is not a dancing platform anymore. Okay, people think that you have to be a bit of a entertainer on social media. You don't. What I'm going to do here is give you 5 really quick top tips of what you can do right now to set you up for 2024. So the first one is gear your channels for success. Make sure all your details are up to date. Worst thing you can do is navigate someone to your social media page after watching some content, scenes and posts, and then they can't get in touch with you. So make sure all your details are up to date, and make sure you've got auto messaging set up. What that will do is whenever anybody sends you a message, you'll send an automatic message back saying, look, we've got your message, we'll be back in touch as soon as possible. So you've acknowledged that they've messaged you. That's a big one, so they don't go looking elsewhere. Second one, get into the habit of asking your clients to follow you on social media on your very first call. Okay, the worst thing you can do is wait till the end. Hiya, mortgage is all completed. You've either moved into your new house or you've got your new mortgage. Can you leave us a Google review and will you follow us on social? To be honest, they're not really bothered. They've got their mortgage. Do it right at the beginning and tell them that on social media, you are going to keep everybody up to date with the mortgage market. So do that at the very beginning. The third one, once we've set up the channels and we've started asking for followers, is creating content. So I always tell people to use the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 hack. It's going to create you 15 pieces of content, which is a month's worth. So number 5, you're going to create 5 pieces of content that answer 5 frequently asked questions that your clients have been asking you on the phone over the last few weeks. These are questions that your audience are wanting answers to as well, because your current clients are doing so. Number 4 is do 4 posts about good news stories. These don't have to be news stories for the last few weeks or months. It could be 10 years ago. For example, somebody came to us after 3 brokers said no. So make sure you put 4 good news stories posts out. Number 3 is create piece of content using awareness days. So there's loads of free awareness day calendars out there on Google. Have a look for them. If you want some fun ones, 4th of December coming up is official Santa's list day. So do a bit of a fun one of your mortgage or your protection checklist. Those type of things always go down well. But then you've got like Income Protection Awareness Week. You've got we had Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October. These type of things are great for especially protection content. Number 2, so create 2 customer reviews. So those are anything from Google, Trustpilot, wherever you get them from. And then number 1 is create 1 piece of personal content. So a photo of you with the dog, out with the kids, whatever it may be. Do that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 hack, and you'll have 15 pieces of content, and that's your month's worth of content done in a couple of hours, and then go and schedule them to buffer. My fourth tip, create a long form video. That could be an interview with a local estate agent, for example, talking about the market. And we're talking about AI here. Go to a website called Opus Pro. And what that will do, you can put your 15, 20 minute, 30 minute video into Opus Pro. Press the Get Clips Quick button. That's a mouthful. And what it will do is it will give you about 20 videos, really short form, 15 to 30 to 60-second clips out of that video, and they'll tell you how viral they think they're going to be. There you'll have another 10 videos you can go and post to your socials. Number 5 is then go and take these clips and share them into local Facebook groups. So everybody knows they've got local village groups, local town groups. Go and share them into there, because mortgage brokers are not doing that at the moment. So there's nearly 1,000 people listening to this. Everyone's Facebook groups in their local area now are going to be flooded. But not many mortgage brokers are utilising these Facebook groups, and you can share them in there, and you can 10, 20, 30x your reach of every post. And then the bonus tip is we can do it all for people. So that would get in touch with us, give us a shout, and we can see how we can help. But if you use those 5 tips there consistently over 2024, I promise you, you will not have to rely on introducers. You'll get more introducers because you'll be a lot more visual, but you'll get, exactly like Vikki said, people with PTs that have gone to other brokers. You can nick them, you can keep your clients on board as well. So those are my 5 top tips.
That's fabulous. Thank you so much. Really, really helpful. It does bring us now, unfortunately, to the end of all the questions, but hopefully that's provided some insights for the intermediaries who are watching today. But I just want to say a huge thank you to you all again, Claire, Vikki, Nicola and Chris. Thank you for joining me and sharing your thoughts.